We are in the Mojave Trails National Monument at a feature called Bonanza Springs. The springs here are the largest source of water in around 1,000 square miles of the Mojave Desert in California. They're invaluable for wildlife, both migrating and resident. They allow animals and plants that could not otherwise survive in the arid desert to make a living, and the spring flows year-round. It's incredibly important for wildlife and for the ecosystem. Bonanza Spring has been around for a long time. It's been wet here for thousands of years, pretty much continuously since the last ice age, and we can tell that because there are animals here like red-spotted toads that could not have survived an extended period of dry, and it's unlikely they got here from somewhere else. So it's clear that this place has been an oasis in the desert for a very, very long time. It's one of the driest places in the world, the area that surrounds us here, and so this oasis would have been incredibly important to native people coming through who would have relied on it not only for water but also for the occasional bit of game and for cultural and ceremonial purposes. We also know that this was used extensively after European contact, in that miners were here and they relied on the water. When the railroad came through, the water was piped down to the railroad line down the hill to help the steam engines function. It's just been quietly a very, very important place for thousands of years and continues to be to this day. The Cadiz Project claims that there's no connection between Bonanza Spring here and the aquifer that they want to pump. They claim that Bonanza Spring is fed entirely by precipitation. The thing is that if you look around, you see that this is the entire watershed for Bonanza Spring. This little 60-acre canyon here with a consistent water flow out of it, which means that much water would need to come into this little canyon. And it's kind of hard to imagine. I mean, we're very close to a place where there was no recorded precipitation for more than a year, not too long ago, in Baghdad, California. It's just impossible to imagine that this much water in Bonanza Spring could come from precipitation in this tiny, tiny little desert canyon. That means it has to be coming from somewhere else. And that means that it's almost certainly connected to the aquifer that Cadiz would mine, because that's the only source of a lot of water around here. And when Cadiz starts pumping from its property just about 11 or 12 miles that way, that water table is going to get lowered, and the water table here, we suspect, will lower, and that threatens Bonanza Springs. If you lower the water table that feeds a spring, you threaten to dry up that spring. And once that water table starts to drop, it's too late to do anything about it for a long time. It'll continue to drop even if we stop pumping immediately. And that's a disaster for the animals and plants that rely on Bonanza Spring, as well as for all the cultural values that the spring holds.